back to Nerdly Presents Off the Reel. This is an Off the Reel review. I am talking about the movie Mike and Nick&Alice. It's a bit of a mouthful from director BenDavid Grabinski. Now, if ever there was a fake name in Hollywood for 500 Bob, it would be BenDavid Grabinski. It sounds like two people, it could potentially be three people, but this is the director of this movie. I believe he has directed one other movie called Happily, and before that he did some TV stuff and he wrote the Scott Pilgrim cartoon series. We're going to be talking about the movie in a quick hot second, but first of all, my name is Kevin Halden. This is Nerdly Presents Off the Reel. You can go over to nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home, for all of your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. For plenty other reviews over there. Somebody over there may have already reviewed this movie. Check out what they had to say about it, listen to what I have to say about it, but most of all, you need to check the movie out for yourself. And with that, what I will do is I'll talk about the plot of the movie, then I'll get into the cast and crew of the movie, what I did and did not like about the movie, rounding out at the end with my Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating. That is just my rating, but I'm the most important person at Nerdly and around the globe. Today we're talking about Mike and Nick&Alice, which is kind of a gangster style drama rom-com mixed in with a little bit of time travel. So let's just see what IMDb has to say about the film, and then we'll get into a little bit deeper on the film. IMDb tells us that two friends navigate the dangerous world of organized crime, testing their loyalty and survival skills as they get deeper into the criminal underworld. And yes, that is exactly what this movie is in a nutshell on the grand scheme of things, but why don't we dive a little bit deeper into things? We kind of start off at this party scene going on, and we meet Mike, who is played by James Marsden, and we meet a guy called Nick, or we'll meet Nick properly in a second, played by Vaughan, and Eiza Gonzalez. I have probably ruined her name once again, but this is an actress I am really familiar with, from having seen her in the From Dusk Till Dawn series, where she played Santanico Pandemonio in the TV series, and she was absolutely brilliant in that. I mean, following up Salma Hayek, that's not something I'd want to do, but I mean, I couldn't possibly, but she did a fantastic job. And the party is for Jimmy Boy, who's just recently got out of prison, and he meets his dad there, who's played by Keith David. His dad is Sosa, and it turns out there is a rat in their midst, and this is the night that they're going to try and catch the rat. But anyway, we find out that Mike is seeing Alice, who is Eiza Gonzalez, but it turns out she is also married to Nick, played by Vaughan. So they're kind of like sneaking around, kind of like making up this little rendezvous. So they go to this hotel room, and she goes to the shower, and there's a knock at the door, and it's Nick. And Nick's like, Mike, I need you to come with me. We have a job to do, one last big gangster job to do before you get out of the business, because he knows that Mike is intending on getting out of the business. They jump in the car, and they're kind of on their way to this place to do this job, and when they're on their way there, Nick's kind of like, look, Mike, I need you to do something for me, but you can't question me, you just have to do it. So Mike's kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll whatever I need to do, because he's also a little bit scared that maybe he knows that I'm banging his wife. So he's kind of like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever you need me to do. And he's like, I need you to take the chloroform that's in the glove box, and when that door opens in that house that we've just parked up outside of, I need you to chloroform the guy that comes out, knock him out cold, and then come and get me. So Mike goes to do that while Nick goes around the block in the car a couple of times, but Mike knocks on the door, and who opens the door but Nick? Yeah, Nick, looking a little bit different, and they end up having this really big fight, kicking the crap out of each other, and eventually Mike does knock Nick out with the chloroform, and job's a good one. But then the door opens, and in walks Nick. So we now have two Nicks. We have a Nick and a Nick. We have two Vaughans. But then the door kind of goes again, and this time it's Sosa. So Keith David's there, and he kind of like comes in, and he wants to talk to Nick. Mike hides in the shower, because that's obviously where you go and hide. But then you realise that the rat within the midst is actually Mike. And that's kind of the movie in a nutshell, in a way. Nick, 6 months from now, has come back in time to help Nick and Mike of the present day, because Mike isn't going to see the end of the night, and Mike might not actually be the rat. So that's what they need to do. He needs to protect him. Meanwhile, Sosa's going mental. He's getting these people to come and kill him. He's got this guy called the Baron to come and kill him, like this cannibalistic assassin. And then like you've got the whole thing about like Alice needs to sort of wrap her mind around all of this, because now we have two Nicks and one Mike. So she's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And then we have all these other little bits and pieces. Really big action set pieces. Really good comedy going on. Some of the best Vince Vaughn Vaughn stuff I have seen Vince Vaughn do in a long time. I don't really want to say overly too much more about the plot other than we have some car chases, we have some really big gunfights, James Marsden pulling off gunfights, by the way, wow. We have this cannibalistic assassin coming in to try and get Mike, and then we have like Jimmy Boy and his little crew. We meet up with them for the party, the after party, the after party, and the after party, because he's just living it up since getting out of jail, and it seems like he might have a little bit of problem with his wiener because he can't get it up right now, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So let's talk about the cast and crew a little bit. I'm going to start with James Marsden, who is solid as always. We do get a little bit of a cameo from his Sonic compadre Ben Schwartz, who's the voice of Sonic in the Sonic movies, but Marsden's doing really good stuff here. He's doing some really good action beats. There's like one really big like gunfight number going around this house, and he's kicking ass and he is looking solid. This isn't anything new from Vince Vaughn. We've kind of seen him dive into this territory before, but again, like, he's solid as hell as well. But I really liked what Marsden was doing. He is kind of just becoming that leading man that you can always depend on. He's not going to do anything overly spectacular, but he's always going to be spot on at what he does, and I liked that for James Marsden. Vince Vaughn playing the two characters, it's not an easy thing to do. I genuinely think that he does pull it off really well. The Nick from 6 months from now is very different to the Nick from the present day. He's been through some shit after seeing his friend die, and you can tell that he's a very, very kind of changed and nuanced character, whereas the Nick of the present day is just an angry son of a bitch, like, yeah, I know you're screwing my wife, I'm not happy about it, and I'm going to do anything I can to screw you over. To the point where there is even a scene where like you think both Nicks are on the same page, but then when like Nick from right now, Nick from the present has a chance to screw over James Marsden. Yeah, it's a really cool scene. I don't want to say too much about it. It's in the hotel room. It's when the Baron, it's when the assassin is coming to get Nick. Eiza Gonzalez, I love her as an actress. I'm a really, really big fan, but she has been popping up in a whole bunch of other movies as of late, and it's really cool to see her kicking ass, using her action chops and getting into it. Keith David, dependable as ever as Jimmy Boy's dad. He just plays that big overbearing gangster type role that, yeah, but when Keith David gets to do comedy, he's one of the best at it. Like, the deadpan nature of his humor always works for me and will never stop working for me. The character of Jimmy Boy is a bit of an idiot, so you can tell that Keith David's very put upon by his son, and he just plays it brilliantly. Like, there's a scene where he's talking about like this guy's gonna get his comeuppance, and Jimmy Boy's kind of like, oh yeah, like, I can't wait till he gets his comeuppance. That's my favorite kind of comeuppance. I don't really understand what comeuppance means, and you can just see Keith David just standing there like, yeah, that's just you. And on Jimmy Boy, played by Jimmy Tatro, the kind of guy, the kind of actor we see all the time, and he does tend to play mostly the same kind of character. Honestly, I'm there for it, and he plays it well, so why the hell not keep doing it? It's brilliant. Arturo Castro, another actor that I've been seeing doing a lot of comedy stuff as of late, so it's really cool to see him in here. And then past that, it's pretty much just mostly like little cameos and whatnot. You got a really cool moment from Stephen Root. Lewis Tan plays Roid Rage Ryan. I wanted way more from Lewis Tan. If you're doing an action movie and you have Lewis Tan in your movie, why is he not doing the action for you? I assume he maybe did do some of the like choreography or the stunt stuff. Maybe he did. I don't know. I was kind of like, dude, you've got Lewis Tan in an action movie and he's not doing all of the action. This guy's awesome. But we will get some from Mortal Kombat 2 very soon, I hope. And the Baron, the cannibalistic assassin, the Baron, is played by the one and only Dolph Lundgren. And it's really cool to see Dolph Lundgren sending himself up in this kind of role, in this kind of way. And before I get too much into what I did and didn't like about this movie, I just want to quickly mention BenDavid Grabinski, the director, also the writer. Now, when you're doing these time travel movies, there are a lot of things that can go wrong in terms of continuity, in terms of like how you're going to play this, and they do like to sort of reference, are we going to do the Terminator 2 rules? Are we going to do the Back to the Future rules? What rules are we going to apply to our time travel movie? This movie, I feel like, doesn't necessarily concern itself way too much. Yes, they do address the fact that we are in a time travel movie, and that does create certain paradoxes, so they do kind of like address that within sort of like some meta commentary. However, the time travel aspect of this movie isn't really the movie. It's not the plot of the movie. Once we've dealt with it in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the two Nicks being in the same room, that's it. It's done. Like, we don't need to talk about it anymore. James Marsden understands the concept of why Nick is here and why there's two Nicks, and they just get on with the movie. And I think that's where this movie really does excel in terms of, yes, we're doing time travel and whatnot, but we're not really doing time travel. We just want to have two Vince Vaughns in this movie, and that's what we got. But I will say, as a director, someone who's only made a couple of things, this is a very well executed movie. It looks great. The dialogue is fantastic. Everyone has room to breathe. No scenes ever felt like they were going on for too long. Everybody's getting this stuff in. What I did and didn't like. There's not a lot that I didn't like about this movie. I think all the music options within this movie absolutely slap. I think the action in this movie is incredible. I would love to have seen Lewis Tan doing what Lewis Tan does best. However, in a movie like this where you've got gangsters with guns, what would be the point in Lewis Tan like really just starting to like whip out all the martial arts and kick everyone in the face? I love there's a really cool moment in the middle of this movie where everybody's sort of sitting around and the dialogue and the shit out of the scene, and they're talking about the Gilmore Girls, and it makes sense within the movie, but honestly, like, really, really cool dialogue, well written. I never watched the Gilmore Girls, but I now feel like I have the perfect sort of like previously on Gilmore Girls, should I ever want to watch it. I think the gore is brilliant. We get some really, really cool gore. One guy gets like his whole face shot out, like a hole right through his head, and it looks really cool. And then Vince Vaughn comes on the microphone or the phone, and he's like, "Can somebody check that guy's pulse?" Really, really cool moment in the movie. We do get a weird sing-song number towards the end of the movie, which I kind of wasn't really too sure of how we were going to do it, what we were going to do there, why we were even having that. But I didn't mind it. It's just one of those things that if I had to nitpick something, I would nitpick the crap out of that scene. So I feel like I might as well just go into my final nerdly percent off the real review rating. It's a bit of a mouthful. I really need to cut that down somehow. And honestly, as much as I've said I've loved this movie and I love certain aspects of this movie, I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 because there is something, I don't know what that is, because when I talk about what I did and didn't like, there's not a lot of things that I didn't like, so I kind of just really enjoyed the movie and it washed over me in a way that I just really got on with it. But I have seen other movies like this that have just had that certain little bit extra, that certain little bit more, and I don't really know what this movie was missing. So this does feel like a harsh 4 out of 5. Like, I feel like I probably could have just gave it a 5 out of 5 and that's that. But I did end the movie kind of wanting more. And we do get a "you're not going to believe this" kind of stinger. So we could potentially get another movie. I just don't know what I was missing. There was something I was sat there thinking I needed this, and we didn't get this. Maybe it's the time travel aspect. Maybe I did want a little bit more of that. Maybe I did want to dive a little bit deeper into how the hell we even have time travel, other than just some random dude had figured it out and decided to make a time machine. I really don't know. This does feel like a harsh 4 out of 5, but it is a 4 out of 5, and I absolutely think everybody should be checking this movie out. It's out on the streaming platforms. I think it's a Hulu movie or something like that. But yeah, absolutely check out the movie. I think you'll all really, really enjoy it. One of the better sort of time travel comedies that I've seen over the years. So yeah, that is my review of Mike and Nick and Nick&Alice, and I'm going to get myself away. Please do go over to nerdly.co.uk, check out over there, see if anybody else has reviewed it over there, but most of all, check out the movie for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Am I being too harsh on this movie? Is this the best Vince Vaughn performance we have had in over a decade? I don't know. I was getting kind of bored of all those comedies that he was doing for a good long while. This, he was getting to be a little bit more like, what was that one? The Cell Block one that he did, Prisoner on the Cell Block or Cell Block something. He did that movie where he got to be a hardcore nut job. Here we are, he's doing the comedy and being a bit of a gangster hardcore nut job, but doing it well. So yeah, I'm going to go, and if I don't see you through the week, I will see you in the cinema.